So you're traveling to Japan? I love to hear that, legend. But before you do land, there are a few things that you need to know. Because trust me, Japan is absolutely incredible. But there are a few things there for first timers coming here that can catch you a little bit off guard. Things like no trash bins, ATMs that close early, trains stopping at midnight. Let's make sure that you don't run into any of these surprises. I put together a 12 must-know tips that'll save you time, money, and stress, so you can actually focus on enjoying Japan instead of trying to figure these things out. So let's get into it. Tip number 1, stay connected. Imagine stepping off the plane in Japan, ready to explore, and then realizing, I have no internet, no maps, and no idea where to go. I'll be honest, that's not the best way to start your trip. Japan is incredible, but if you don't have reliable internet, you're going to struggle. Google Maps, translation apps, train schedules, you're going to be using them constantly. And I'll be honest, the public Wi-Fi, let's say I wouldn't rely on it. In some places, it's often slow and spotty and requires a complicated login process. So with that, what's the best way to stay connected? You've got 2 solid options in my opinion. Number 1 is pocket Wi-Fi, which is probably best for groups. If you're traveling with friends or family, pocket Wi-Fi is fantastic and it's a great way to go because you basically rent a small device and multiple people can connect to it and the signal stays strong enough to stream and navigate and translate on the go. Just don't forget to charge it daily. And number 2, the best and most popular one by far is an eSIM, which is best for solo travelers. If you're traveling alone or you just want one less thing to carry, an eSIM is an absolute game changer. There's no physical SIM card needed. You just activate it on your phone before you land and then you're good to go. It's super easy and incredibly convenient. Personally, I've always used a company called Japan Wireless. What I found with that company is they've always been super reliable all over Japan where I've traveled. It even holds up on the bullet train at 300 kilometers per hour when I've been watching movies. Basically what it is, you can just order it online and you can pick it up at the airport when you arrive or have it posted ahead of time to your accommodation. Super convenient. There are also vendors at the airport that you can pick these up and order once you arrive, though the only thing with that is that they may be sold out during peak periods. And if you're in a bit of a pinch for high-speed internet, my number 1, I have tested all of the major places like McDonald's, the convenience stores, all of that. And the number 1 I can recommend is Starbucks. It's basically unlimited Wi-Fi. And when I first moved here, I relied on it so much to upload these videos on the daily because my internet at home just wasn't coping. But the bottom line is before you land, sort your internet out before you arrive. It'll save you a whole lot of stress. But now we've got that covered, let's talk about getting from the airport to your hotel without a headache, champion. Tip number 2, getting into the city. All right, you've now landed in Japan, your passport's stamped, your bags are in hand, now what? If you're visiting Japan for the first time, the chances are you'll be flying into Tokyo. And Tokyo has 2 major airports, Haneda and Narita. Which one you land in makes the biggest difference in how fast it'll take you to get into the city. So let's break that down. If you have a choice, absolutely every single time without fail, land in Haneda over Narita. Haneda is way closer to Tokyo, meaning that you'll be in a city in about 15 to 20 minutes instead of spending an hour trekking from Narita. It's like a different city away, I'm telling you. If you're flying from Haneda, you're in luck because it's only about 15 to 20 minutes to the city on the train. And it's probably about 500 yen, which is about $3 USD. While taxis are convenient also, they are pricey. So you'd be probably paying about 5,000 yen to 10,000 yen, which is about $35 to $70 USD. Now, on the other hand, if you are traveling from Narita, you are in for a trek. The Narita Express gets you to Tokyo Station in about an hour, which is a train by the way, and that'll cost you around 3,000 yen or about $20 USD. I've always found if you are going to Narita, I absolutely every single time will take the limousine bus. And you may be like, well, that's gonna take a lot longer, but let me tell you why. It drops you at all of the major hotels around the city, which makes it a whole lot more convenient if you're getting around with heavy bags and you don't have to get into Tokyo Station, then navigate and transfer a different train and try and drag your suitcase around trying to find where your hotel is. But the limousine bus is fantastic and it probably costs about 3,000 yen. It takes a bit over an hour to an hour and a half, I'd say, depending on traffic, to get into the city or to your destination. So limousine bus, if you're going to Narita, is my choice. You can also get a taxi, like anywhere you can get a taxi, but absolutely not from Narita. I'm telling you, it's like a different city away. It'll probably be costing you around 25,000 yen, which is about $170 USD. So if you got that coin to spend, you go for it, mate, but I'm saving money all day. The moral of the story, plan ahead, pick the right option, and you'll be in the city in no time, mate. Tip number 3, tap and go. All right, you've now made it into the city. Let's talk about the one thing that will make your life 1,000 times easier when getting around Japan, and that's an IC card. If you don't want to waste time buying a ticket every time you want to hop on a train and trying to work out how much that's going to cost by looking at that crazy map on the board, you need to get an IC card. It's a rechargeable travel card that lets you simply tap and go. There's no fumbling with change and no guessing train fares. It's by far the easiest way to pay for transport in Japan. Suica and Passmo are the two most common IC cards in Japan, and they make getting around just ridiculously easy. However, there's no real difference between them. They both work exactly the same way. You just tap and go on trains, buses, vending machines, and even convenience stores. You can use it like a mini credit card in a lot of places and even pay at a lot of the restaurants too. Also, if you have an iPhone or an Android, you can use Suica or Passmo and add it to your digital wallet on your phone. The good thing about this is that you can top it up right on your phone. There's no need to carry a physical card or deal with the ticket machines trying to recharge that card. Just get your phone, tap it, and go. That easy. But if you did want to grab a physical IC card, you can grab them at most major train stations. In the end, seriously, having an IC card just makes travel a whole lot smoother. And it's one of the biggest recommendations that I give to all my mates coming here. Just get on it, champion, get on it. Tip number 4, Google Maps is a must. Japan's train systems are incredible. They're fast, efficient, and it'll get you pretty much anywhere you need to go. But if you don't know what you're doing, it may feel like a giant maze of confusion. That's where Google Maps comes in. This app is an absolute lifesaver when navigating the trains in Japan. Just enter your destination and it'll tell you exactly which line to take, where to transfer, and how much it's going to cost. It'll even tell you which train card to board for the fastest exit. It's like having a personal guide in your pocket. But one thing to watch out for, champion, is that Japanese trains stop running at around midnight.
Wow.
And if you missed the last one, taxis aren't that cheap. So if you're out late, just check Google Maps for the last train or be ready for a long walk home, which I have definitely done many a time. In the end, with Google Maps and an IC card, you'll be navigating Japan like a natural. But next, let's talk about the cheaper ways to travel long distances in Japan. Tip number 5. Trains aren't the only ride. The Japanese Shinkansen, it's absolutely amazing. It's a marvel, but it's not the only way to get around Japan. If you're looking to save some cash, consider these alternatives. Highway buses can be up to 1/3 of the price of a bullet train, and they range from basic seats to full-on luxury setups. The Willa Express buses are a great budget option. You can book directly online through the website, which is also English friendly. Also, if you are traveling long distances, budget airlines are sometimes cheaper than the train, but remember, getting to and from the airport does add extra time and money to that journey. And you also have to go through security and things like that. That's just not for me. I'm looking for the easy route, mate. And then there are ferries. Yes, Japan has ferries and no one talks about this. They are seriously underrated. It's not every day you get access to an entire ferry. What? I've got access to the whole thing. If you're traveling between the major islands in Japan, ferries can be a cheaper and more scenic alternate to flying, taking a bus, or taking a train. Some even have overnight cabins, meaning you can save on a night's accommodation while cruising the seas. The popular ferry routes include Osaka to Beppu, which is great if you're heading down to Kyushu's famous hot spring capital, or Tokyo to Hokkaido if you want a slower, more scenic journey up north. If you're considering taking a ferry, check out the sites like Ferry Sunflower or direct ferry company websites for schedules and bookings. So, if you're coming to Japan with a bit of a budget and you want to see Japan at a different pace, buses and ferries are just an awesome option. Get on board and let me know if you do. Tip number 6. Is cash really king? Japan loves cash, but also it kind of doesn't. Let me explain. While credit cards are becoming more widely accepted, cash is still king in many places. Think like ramen shops, street vendors, or tiny family-run restaurants. Some places take cards, but don't assume you can just tap everywhere like you do maybe back home. That's why I always carry around 10,000 yen with me at all times, which is about $70 USD in cash, just in case. But if you're looking for international payments, I always recommend using Wisecard. This isn't a promotion, this is just from my actual experience. It's still my daily card that I use living here. It basically has great exchange rates. It works in all places. I've never had an issue with it, and it lets you withdraw cash without insane fees. The bottom line, just have a card, but just don't rely on it. Always keep a little bit of cash on hand just for those moments when you're gonna need it. Tip number 7, where do I get cash? Need cash? Plan ahead, because ATMs in Japan have something weird. A bedtime, apparently. While 7-Eleven convenience store ATMs are your best bet, they have 24-hour access and they take most international cards. But bank ATMs actually close, usually around 5 to 7 p.m. on weekdays and even earlier on weekends. Why? The banking regulations here and security policies, apparently. But I don't quite understand it, but it is what it is. So don't wait until midnight to get some cash, because chances are that ATM screen is gonna basically say, yeah, nah, not right now, mate, I'm closed. So if you need cash late at night, stick to a 7-Eleven, Family Mart, or Lawson's convenience store ATMs, as they're normally open and reliable for all foreign cards, I'd say, or at least most of them. Tip number 8, let your phone do the talking. Let's be real, unless you're fluent in Japanese, reading menus and asking for directions can get tricky pretty fast. But don't stress, the right app can save you a whole lot of confusion. Most people default to Google Translate and it frustrates me, but I'm telling you, Microsoft Translator app is just a far better choice. It's more accurate and it has split screen conversation mode, which makes real-time conversations with Japanese people just so much easier. And another game changer for this one, it works offline. So if you're in the countryside and you have somewhat of a bad signal, you still have access to those translation services. I'm telling you right now, champion, trust me, having a solid translation app is an absolute must here. Tip number 9, learn just a little. Look, no one's expecting you just to roll into Japan and start speaking Japanese perfectly. But trust me, learning just a few everyday words before you come will make your trip just so much easier. Even just knowing how to say things like thank you, arigato, or excuse me, sumimasen, can just go a long way. Locals really appreciate it when you try, even if the pronunciation isn't perfect. And honestly, most people will just be so impressed that they will meet you halfway, even switching to the little English that they might know just to help you out. But that said, if words fail, just go full charades mode. Pointing, mimicking, miming, dramatic reenactments can work. Not only does it get the message across, I use it all the time personally, but sometimes it leads to hilarious and unexpected interactions. So give it a go. I always love doing it because I rely on it. So put a little effort in, have a little fun with it, and who knows, you might walk away with a new Japanese phrase or a funny story. Tip number 10, respect the culture. Japan has a way of making you feel like you've stepped in a whole different world. But while no one expects you to know every cultural rule, a little effort goes a long way into making your trip smoother and getting you some smiles from locals along the way. A few easy ones to just remember here is that trains are just massive quiet zones. They're like libraries, so no loud conversations or talking on the phone when you're on the trains. The second one is take off your shoes indoors. Basically, if you see a step up when you go into a restaurant, basically that's a sign to say, hey, take your shoes off, champion. Next one is don't eat while walking. It's just a thing here. I know we all do it probably in our own countries, but here it's seen as just like messy and inappropriate. And if someone hands you something like money or a receipt or a business card, use both hands. It's a small gesture and it just shows respect here. But the best way just to figure things out, like I have personally, is just watch what the locals do and follow their lead. If everyone's standing on one side of the escalator, do the same thing. If people are bowing, just give a little nod back. It's about just going with the flow. At the end of the day, people just appreciate when you try. And if you get a few things wrong, honestly, those are the moments of figuring things out and it's kind of half the fun. So just enjoy it, follow what others are doing and respect the culture. Now that you're ready to travel Japan like a local, let's talk about something a little bit more unexpected. Why you'll never find a trash bin when you need one. Tip number 11, trash bins are rare. One of the first things you'll notice when you come to Japan, trash bins are basically non-existent. You buy a drink, finish it, and then nowhere to throw it. Welcome to Japan's bring your trash home culture. Now, if you're wondering why are there so few trash bins, it's mostly about keeping the streets clean and encouraging people to take responsibility for their own waste. It's different, but honestly, it works. Japan's streets are spotless. So what do? The best option is to carry a small bag with you for your trash until you find a bin. But if you really need to throw something away, convenience stores usually have bins, but be mindful. I personally only use the trash bins at convenience stores when I'm buying something from there, since they're meant for customers' use. You'll also find recycling bins next to vending machines most of the time, but just beware, they are only for bottles and cans. So if you do have anything else to throw away, just hold on to it until you find the right bin to place it in. Once you get used to it, carrying your trash around, it's not a big deal. And I'll be honest, if it means cleaner streets, I think that's a pretty good trade. All right, now you know where to throw your trash away. Let's talk about the best time to visit Japan so you can have an absolutely unforgettable trip. Tip number 12, pick the right season. Japan is amazing all year round, but let's be real, some seasons are just better than others, and it's depending on what kind of experience that you're after. So let's dive into the seasons, starting with spring, which is March to May. If you've ever dreamed of walking under a pink cherry blossom tree, this is your season. The weather is just perfect, the scenery is stunning, but heads up, it's also peak tourist time, so expect crowds, especially in hotspots like Kyoto and Tokyo. And then you have autumn, which is from September to November. And in my opinion, it is the best time to visit Japan. The summer heat is gone, the crowds are more manageable, and the maple leaves turn from green into bright red and orange. It's just a stunning time to visit, and you just don't have the chaos of the cherry blossom season. It's the best time to visit, in my opinion. And then you have winter, which is December to February. If you love winter vibes, Japan, it just absolutely delivers. The skiing in Hokkaido, the snow-covered temples, and the soaking in an onsen while it's snowing, it's unreal. Plus, winter means fewer tourists outside of probably Christmas and New Year's, so you have just more space to explore. And then, mate, you get into summer, which is June to August. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Japan's summers is hot. It's like stepping outside and you just instantly just sweat. But if you can handle the heat, you'll be rewarded with just incredible summer festivals, fireworks, and beach getaways. And I love the beach. Just stay hydrated and maybe pack an extra shirt because you're gonna get sweaty, mate. But with that, if there is one period to avoid every single year, and that is called Golden Week, which is late April to May. It's one of Japan's biggest holiday periods, and that means that things like trains and hotels and tourist spots get just absolutely rammed. They're so packed, so just avoid Golden Week altogether. But the bottom line, guys, is you can't go wrong. But autumn and spring are by far the safest bets in my opinion. It's got great weather and the scenery is just beautiful. Pick the season that matches your vibe really in the end, and you'll just have just an epic trip. But there you have it. That is my 12 must-know tips for visiting Japan. I hope this has helped somewhat, and if you have any recommendations of your own, drop them in the comments below because I'd love to hear from you guys. But until next time, legends, ciao mata, and I'll see you in the next one, champions.